welcome. If you're new here, welcome back. If you've been here before to the 8th concession, my name is Natalie. Well, it's one of my favorite days of the year. It's seed starting day, and even though here on the 8th concession, Southern Ontario, Zone 5B, it is more winter than ever. We've had a lot of snow, and then just over the past day or so, we've gotten freezing rain on top of the snow. And freezing rain is much worse than snow. It makes for a slippery drive because everything has been coated in this thin layer of ice, and on the road sometimes you can't see it. It's called black ice because it looks just like the road, and you don't realize that you have no traction and cars are in the ditch, and it's always nerve-wracking for the drive. So it has not been what I'd call spring fever kind of weather. It is winter. But today is the day I'm going to be starting some of the seeds that I need to give a real head start to. And it makes me so excited to finally get the 2025 gardening season underway. So today I'm going to be starting my onion seeds, my leek seeds, my pepper seeds, and maybe some flowers if I have time. But I have a feeling just the onion, leeks, and peppers are going to keep me busy enough for this morning. So let's get started. What is the best and easiest way to start onions and leeks from seed? Well, trust me, growing them from seed is not that difficult. For years and years, I grew them from the sets, you know, those little bulbs you can buy in the net bags. And I don't mind growing them that way. There are a couple of disadvantages to that, however. Because those seeds, onion seeds, have been started, they've been allowed to grow to a small bulblet, let's call it, and then they are pulled. Now, for the most part, when you put them in the ground, they'll keep growing into a nice big onion bulb. Sometimes though, the seed is tricked into thinking it's already the following year. And onions are biennial, which means they will grow into a bulb the first year, and then if they're left alone, they will actually grow and flower and set seed the second year. So sometimes when you plant the onion bulbs, you will actually get a flower forming. Now, that's great if you want to save seeds, but it doesn't give you a nice bulb for eating. So that's one of the drawbacks. The other one is you can only get a few varieties of these onion sets in the store. Now, they've been doing better lately. I've been checking the past couple of years. They'll have a few more varieties. But if you really want to control what type of onion you put in your garden, the type that's best for your climate, your soil, your growing season, then seeds are the way to go. And they're a lot cheaper because just like everything else, the onion sets are just going up in price every year. And really, it's so easy to grow them from seed. Why shouldn't you? Now, onion seed packets have been getting more expensive too. However, it's so easy to save your own onion seeds. And I will link, hopefully if I can find it, I will link a video below where I am showing how I harvest my onion seeds. So easy. So in fact, my onions at this point are pretty much free. And I say pretty much because I did actually buy a new variety of onion seed this year that I mentioned in my previous video, and that is a red onion seed. And I just thought I would try it for fun and to see how it stores. The onion I typically grow, I started growing from sets long ago in a different house, in a different garden. And they are what we know around here and are labeled as Dutch onions. And the reason I liked them is because they store better than almost any other onion I've tried. In fact, my onions from last year are still looking great in my cold cellar. I've had a couple sprout, which is actually fine because I do want to plant a couple of onions this year coming to harvest more seed. But they just store like a dream. Now, they're sort of a flatter onion. They're not a big globe. And it took me quite a while to figure out what the variety actually was that's called Dutch onions. And it turns out it's a variety called Stuttgarter Riesen. Now, it was difficult to track down the seeds for that. I actually had to go overseas to find them because I guess in Europe they're fairly common, and I got a nice big pack of them. Here they are, and I do still have some seeds left in them, so I'm actually probably going to use them up this year. There's not too many in here. This is the 3rd year I'll be growing from this package, and while it's true that for the most part seeds, the seed packets will give an expiration date for seeds, but you don't really have to follow that. Seeds, if they're properly stored in a cool, dry place, can last for years. Onions, on the other hand, have been found that their germination rates do not hold up over time. So you have to sort of plant more of them to get the number of onion plants that you want. So I do want to use these up. This is year 3 for them, but I also have onion seeds that I saved for myself from 2 years ago. Now, last year, if you were following me and you remember that I did plant, I think, 2 onions that had sprouted right at the end of the season to let them flower, because again, it was their 2nd year and they would set flowers and make seeds. I can't remember if I showed in any of my garden tours, I unfortunately made the mistake of planting them at the end of bed number 1, and there the dill and the parsley had self-seeded, and I didn't think it would be a problem, but in fact the dill and the parsley basically crowded out my onions, and I only got 1 small flower on the 1 onion, and the other onion plant completely lost the battle and disappeared. So this year I'm going to be more careful about which bed I plant my 2 onions from last year in, sprouting onions in my cold cellar to grow seed from, because I didn't get any seed last year. So I'm going to use up these seeds, and I'm going to then plant the seeds that I harvested myself from 2 years ago. And then, of course, I'm also going to be planting some of the red onion seeds that I just bought for fun. On top of that, I am going to be planting the leeks. Now, I haven't ever harvested leek seeds, but I think it is something I need to try this year. I do have leek seeds left, I believe. I'll have to just check my basket here in a second. I sure hope so, because I want some leeks. And the other thing I'm going to be starting, and this is still pretty early for us, so this is the beginning of February here on the 8th concession. Our last frost date here in Zone 5B, I believe, is around May 9th. Now, of course, onions you can put out before your last frost date because they are frost tolerant. So I can put them out pretty much as soon as the ground can be worked. But I think that is still about 10 weeks away for us. 8 to 10 weeks away. So this is the perfect time to start them. Now, the reason I'm starting my peppers a little bit earlier than they might recommend on seed packets is because I found last year they were still pretty small when I put them in the garden, and it took quite a while for them to get to the size to set fruit. And I was really pushing it to harvest them, I think it was the end of September. So I want an earlier start on my pepper plants so that they're bigger when I put them in the garden, and hopefully then with our shorter growing season here, I'll still be able to harvest them a bit earlier and not be in such a panic about when that sort of frost or snow is gonna fly in the fall here. So that is what I'm doing today. Now, a couple of tips and tricks for growing onion from seed. First of all, make sure that you use good potting soil. Now, I made the mistake of just using sort of dollar store potting soil last year, and it really didn't work in my benefit. I bought good quality potting soil this year. Onions will need to have potting soil with a good nutrition in it because they're going to be in the pots for so long before you put them in the ground, so don't skimp on that. The second thing is onions and leeks actually grow very, very long roots very quickly. So you don't want to start them in something shallow like an egg carton. This is not going to be your friend for onions and leeks. So nothing shallow like egg cartons, or even some people like to grow certain vegetables in eggshells, which can be good for some things, but not for leeks and onions. Sometimes you also hear about people growing things in like half an orange, the rind of half an orange or a lemon. Again, not deep enough for onion and leek roots. You want them to grow really nice long roots, have a lot of room to do that, so when you plant them in the ground, their roots are going down nice and long. So for mine, I'm going to be planting them in very deep paper cups. I have smaller cups that I'll probably start the pepper plants in. I can up pot them if I need to. Hopefully they'll be big enough. I need to put them in a bigger pot before I put them in the garden, but they're fine to start in the smaller paper cups. But my onions and leeks, I'm starting in the tall cups. So find a container that is nice and deep for those roots. The other thing with your potting soil is no matter how good quality it is or where you get it, you're not quite sure how long it's been in the package, how long it's been in the store. It is a really good idea not only to moisten your water before you plant seeds in it, because then you've got the benefit of the soil is already ready to receive the seeds. You don't have to water that much on top, which can sort of spread your seeds around into cracks and crevices. The other thing is, don't just water your soil with cold water. I did mine with boiling water, and that's because it will kill any sort of pathogens or germs or eggs that might be in even the best quality soils. So make sure you put some boiling water in the soil, mix it up until it kind of holds its shape, and then of course let it cool. You don't want to fry your seeds when they go in. Onion seeds and leek seeds, you don't have to plant too deep. Put them on top of your soil and then add soil over them instead of trying to push them down. And cover them. They should take, I think, 12 to 14 days to germinate. And then you're well on your way to a great harvest of onions. The other thing is how many onions to plant. Well, this is just a rough guideline. When I used to plant the onion sets, I would buy a bag of 100. And I would find that would mostly get me through the year. Now I find that's not quite enough onions. It depends, of course, how often you cook from scratch, which is I'm trying to do more of. So I'm aiming for between 150 and 200 onions this year. And because my seed is a little bit older, the yellow onions anyway, the red onion seeds are fresh. I'm going to, maybe start about 300, hopefully I have 300. Start about 300 just in case the germination rate is low. So plant plenty of onions, because the other thing is when you're ready to transplant them out into your garden, if you have too many, if your germination rate has been fantastic and almost all of them have come up, once you put them in the garden and they grow, just about a foot tall, you can harvest them and eat them as a spring onion. So they're not going to go to waste. So let's get some soil in the cups and get planting. So here I have my Stuttgarter Riesen onion seeds. Here are the same variety, I've just labeled them Dutch onions, my Dutch onion seeds that I harvested myself, so I've got plenty. I have my new Rosa di Milano red onions, so that's an Italian heirloom onion seed. And then I did find my leek seeds. Don't know how many I have left, but I'm going to plant them all. Okay, I'm going to use the small cups for these because I can up pot them as time goes on, and hopefully they get big enough that they need it. I'm also going to plant 2 seeds in each one, just to check for germination, and because when I up pot them, then I can split them. So I've got lunchbox peppers. I grew these last year and they were a big hit. They're a sweet pepper, but they grow just a mini size. They're perfect to just grab a full one for lunch. That's why they're called lunchbox. You know, just to snack on, because you don't have to cut it or chop it. So they were a big hit, and they come in different colors. These are just going to be the regular California Wonder green peppers. These are going to be the mixed sweet bell peppers that I was lured by the beautiful picture on the packet. So I'm going to do a few mixed, so 6 seeds, so 3 pots of those. These are the long red cayenne slim that I am trying for the first time this year, so I'm just going to do 4 plants of those. These are the chili peppers. I grew them last year. They were quite nice, so a few of those. My early jalapeno peppers, those are always very welcome. We like them pickled and as cowboy candy. There, the 2025 gardening season has officially begun. You know, it never fails to amaze me how much food comes from these tiny little seeds, how these little pots here are going to turn into just basketfuls of peppers and all the onions that I'm going to get and cook with. It's just amazing, isn't it? I just love gardening, and I'm so excited. It has begun despite Mother Nature trying to tell us it's not coming at all. So I hope you're also getting started on your garden, and that you share with me how your garden is going and what you're starting. It's just always so much fun, isn't it? Bye for now.